Welcome students. Up to the last lecture, we learn about the rotational dynamics. Now today I am going to start our next chapters in unit first, that is the mechanical properties of fluids. For convenience, I can divide these chapters into three parts. First is fluid statics, that is hydrostatics. Second part is fluid dynamics, that is hydrodynamics. And third part is surface tension according to the properties of fluids. Now today I am going to start the first parts of the mechanical properties of fluids, that is fluid statics or hydrostatics. In these parts, the topics to be learned is what is meant by fluids, what is meant by fluids at rest and fluids in motion, what is meant by pressure, obtain the expression for the pressure due to liquid column, what is meant by atmospheric pressure, absolute pressure, and gauge pressure, what is meant by hydrostatic paradox, state the Pascal's law, and explain its application about the working of hydraulic lift, working of hydraulic brakes, measurement of pressure by using mercury barometer and open tube manometer. After learn these objectives, the objectives are the student must relate the pressure of fluid to the depth below its surface, explain the measurement of atmospheric pressure by using barometer, use Pascal's law to explain the working of hydraulic lift and hydraulic brakes. These are the objectives given in the Maharashtra State Board books. Now, to obtain these objectives, first we see about the matter. Matter is the any substance that has mass and occupies physical space. Around us, there are many things which has the mass and occupies physical space. We use mobile, we see TV, fan, chair, gas, contents in the gas cylinders, oil, water, etc. All these things are matter. Air around us, we require oxygen. That means all these are the matters. Now, if we see this matter about its physical natures, we divide the matter into different phases. Generally, matter can be divided into solid, liquids, and gases. But main phases of these matters are solid and fluids. Matter can be classified into two kinds, solid and fluids. Solid is composed by the particles closely packed to each other. So, The particles are not free for motions as the intermolecular forces between the particles or the molecules are stronger as compared to liquids and gases. It has fixed definite volume and definite shape. When we applied the force to the solid, it get deforms and it opposes to the deformations. It opposes to the deformation and regains its original dimension, maybe regains to its original dimension after removing the deforming forces. Such substances are called the solid. Some substances can be permanently deformed. Some solid substances can be permanently deformed. That substances are said to be plastic. That's already studied in the in the 11th standard. Another kind of matter is fluids. Fluid means the substances that can be flow under the action of force or pressure gradient are called the fluids. For example, if the liquid, water or oil can be falls on the flooring, at that time that floats from higher level to the lower level of the flooring due to the leveling or pressure is higher at the high level and pressure is lower at the low level. So the liquid can be flowed from higher level to lower level due to the pressure gradient. Also, if some liquid drops are falls on the ground, and if we blow the air, at that time that droplets moves or changes its positions, that can be floats due to the action of external force. That means such substances are said to be fluids. Another definition of fluid is a substances which differs continuously under the application of shear stress or tangential force per unit area is called as fluid. Is called as a fluid. I can explain this after the slides. The definition can be explained after the slides. The fluids also classified into different phases. One is liquids. A substance in a liquid state has a particles that are loosely packed together. As the particles or the molecules of the liquid are loosely packed, so the intermolecular forces are weaker. So the molecules are free for the motions inside the liquid, inside the liquid, inside the given liquid. So the substance has a variable shape and takes the shape of its container. This shape acquired by the liquid when it pours in the containers, the container shape will be acquired by the liquid. So its shape can be variables, but its volume is fixed. For example, 500 ml oil is taken in a beaker. Taken in beaker. That oil takes the shape of the beaker. Beaker is cylindrical, so its shape of the oil is cylindrical. But when that 500 ml of oil is poured in the conical flask, at that time that acquire or that takes the shape of the conical flask, that conical light. That means shape are different, but volume is fixed. But its volume is fixed. Volume never change. Also, if we compress the liquids, the change in volume is negligible. That liquids are slightly compressed as compared to the gases. So due to the negligible change in volume, we consider liquids are incompressible. As the liquids are incompressible, so its density remains constant. Density never changes during the compression. Also during the expansion. These are the properties of the liquids. Gases, a substance in the gaseous states has particles that are widely spread apart from each others. The distance between the particles are larger as compared to the solids, liquids. So the intermolecular forces between the molecules of the gases are negligible, so that molecules are free for the random motions. When the gas is poured or gas is filled in a container that takes the shape of that container and acquire the total volume of that container. Its volume is not fixed. For example, if the gas is filled in a small cylinder, it acquires the volume of that small cylinder. But the same gas is filled in another gas cylinder which has the 14 liter volumes. At that time, that gas acquire that 14 liter volumes gas cylinders. So the volume is not fixed. During compressions and expansion, the volume is not fixed. As the gas compressed, its volume decreases, so its density increases. As the gas expands, the volume increases, so its density decreases. Density is also not remains constant of the gas. Another phase of the fluid is plasma. Plasma is highly ionized gas containing neutral atoms and approximately equal number of positive ions and electrons. These are the phases of matters and fluids. Fluids also classified into the following types according to their properties. The first type is ideal fluids. The fluids which is incompressible, which flow is irrotational, that means no turbulence. It is non-viscous, that means when that fluids can be flowed, at that time there is no internal frictions arises between the different layers of the fluids. That fluids are said to be non-viscous. The flow of is steady, that is the velocity at each at every point is remains same if the fluids has these properties, then that fluids are said to be ideal fluids. But in nature, such ideal fluids cannot be in existence. Cannot be in existence. All the fluids in actual practice are real fluids. Real fluids means the fluids that have the viscosity property, that are viscous. Viscous means when the liquids are flows at that time in different layers, there will be internal friction arises. Frictional force will be arises. Such a flow is called the viscous flow, and the property possessed by such liquid is called the viscosity. Such fluids are said to be real fluids. Another types of fluids is Newtonian fluids. Newtonian fluids means a real fluids in which the shear stress is directly proportional to the rate of shear strain or velocity gradient. If the fluids has the shear stress is directly proportional to the rate of shear strain, then that fluids are said to be Newtonian fluids. Another types of fluids is non-Newtonian fluids. A real fluids in which the shear stress is not proportional to the rate of shear strain. Such fluids are said to be non-Newtonian fluids. Another fluids is ideal plastic fluids. A fluids in which the shear stress is more than yield value and shear stress is proportional to the rate of shear strain or velocity gradient, that fluids are said to be plastic fluids. In these chapters, we have studied about only ideal fluids and real fluids, not about these three fluids, that is Newtonian fluids, non-Newtonian fluids, and ideal plastic fluids. Only for informations, I can give these three types: Newtonian fluids, non-Newtonian fluids, and ideal plastic fluids. Now, compare these solids and fluids under the action of shear stress or under the application of shear stress. In first slide, I can give the definition of the fluids is a substance which performs continuously under the application of shear stress or tangential force per unit area. Such substances are called the fluids. This definition can be explained here by using the application of shear stress. First, we see about the solids. In solids, atoms and molecules are arranged in regular manner or in particular manner. Molecules in solids are in vibrational motion, but in fluids, the atoms and molecules are arranged in random manners. That's not regular. That's are not particular arrangement. That's a randomly. Molecules are in random motions in the fluids. That is the first difference, first comparisons. Now, under the application of shear stress, we can compare it. First, see about the solids. If we take a cube of area A each of area A, and length is L. Length is L. Each edge, each side is L. Now, to apply the shear stress, for that purpose, we must apply the tangential force to one of the layer of this cube. This is the upper surface. Lower surface is fixed, and tangential force is applied to this upper layer of this cube, solid cube. Now, due to this tangential force, the upper surface or upper layer of this solid cube is displaced. It deforms. It deforms. When we apply the continuous force, tangential force, that is the shear stress, at that time, this solid cube will deform little and then remains at rest, and its new distorted shape will be remains as it is. That cannot be differs continuously. That opposes to this tangential force for the deformations. So the solid is able to resist the shear stress. So the solid is able to resist the shear stress. In 11th standard, we studied about the shear stress and shear strain. Shear stress is equal to tangential force applied on unit area. That is tangential force per unit area. This is the shearing stress. Shear strain is lateral displacement of the layer to the distance of that layer from the fixed layer. Here, the lateral displacement is dx, and the perpendicular distance of this layer, upper layer or upper surface from the fixed surface is L. Therefore, here dx upon L. If we consider this angular displacement is theta, if this angular displacement is theta, then from this right angle triangle, dx upon L is tan theta. Tan theta. Therefore, modulus of rigidity eta is equal to shearing stress upon shearing strain, that is equal to force per unit area per unit tan theta, or dx upon L. For rigid body or solid body, this theta is very small. Theta is very small. Therefore, tan theta is nearly equal to theta. Tan theta is nearly equal to theta. Therefore, modulus of rigidity F upon A into theta. This is the expression. But for solid, theta is very small. So, the modulus of rigidity is greater than 0 for solids. Remember this thing. Now, in case of fluids, if we apply the shearing stress to the upper layer of the fluids, at that time that can be continuously deformed. That can be continuously deformed. Here I can explain that concepts by using this arrangement here. Pulley belt arrangement. These are the two pulleys, and this is belt over it only. And here a container filled with fluid like water. If this is water or oil, completely filled up to the open end of the beaker, and the pulley belt arrangement is such that the surface of the belt just touches to the free surface of this liquid, free surface of the liquid. By using external mechanisms, if this pulley can be rotated by using the electric motor, if this pulley is rotating like this, at that time the belt over it is in motion along these directions in such a way that belt is moves, and we applied the force, tangential force, to the free surface of the liquid by using this belt, by using this belt. As the belt is in motion, at that time that belt gives the tangential force to this free surface of the liquid or upper surface of the liquid, and due to that the particles or the molecules on the free surface of the liquid, due to that tangential force that give, are in motion continuously, and that sets up some kind of flow patterns inside the liquids. Here, if this belt is in motion, at that time the liquid particles are set some kind of flow like this, that is continuously in motions until we applied the stress that never oppose to the shearing stress, that never oppose the shearing stress. So here I can explain it. Now consider a fluid in container. If shear stress is applied to the surface of the fluid will continuously deform. That is, it will set up some kind of flow patterns inside the liquid container. Inside the container. Thus, under the application of shear stress, the fluid cannot remain rest. That is, fluid can flow under the application of shear stress. So, the modulus of rigidity is equal to 0 for the fluids. For the fluids. Remember this thing. Fluid mechanics. The study of properties of the fluids at rest or in motion under the action of external force or pressure gradient. That study is called the fluid mechanics. Fluid mechanics is the branch of physics that is also divided into two branches, hydrostatics and hydrodynamics. The branch of physics which deals with the properties of the fluids at rest, is called fluids statics or hydrostatics, while the branch of physics which deals with the properties of fluids in motion under the action of force or pressure gradient is called the fluid dynamics or hydrodynamics. To explain the hydrostatics, for that purpose, the equation is required for this explanation is Newton's second law for non-accelerating bodies. Non-accelerating bodies, that means the bodies which is to be rest or moves with a constant velocity. Such bodies are said to be non-accelerating bodies. And for non-accelerating bodies, the net force acting on the body is equal to 0. This is the equation, Newton's second law equation for non-accelerating body. This equation must be applied to explain the hydrostatic concept. Hydrostatic concepts. The properties of hydrostatic concepts. That is explained by using this. If this substance here, I can take a cubical substance, cubical object placed in fluids in the container. When the object is situated inside the fluids, at that time on every face of that cube or the object, the normal forces will be exerts. Normal forces are exerts. The forces are not inclined or parallel to the surfaces, but only the normal forces will be exerts on it. That can be explained by using this horizontal plane surface. If this horizontal plane surface is placed instead of this cube, horizontally placed, at that time, due to the liquid molecules, the force can be exerted on this horizontal surface. The liquid molecules are strikes on this horizontal surface and rebounds back. That collision is perfectly elastic collisions. So there will be change in momentum, and due to that change in momentum, according to Newton's second law, the rate of change of momentum gives the force. That means due to the collisions, the force will be exerts on the horizontal surface. If the molecules is said to move along these directions and strikes on this surface, it changes its direction due to the collisions. It moves along the directions, and due to the change in momentum, the force will be exerted at this surface. That force can be resolved into two rectangular components. One is vertical component and another is horizontal component. That means due to this force, the components, vertical components and horizontal components will be exerted on this horizontal surface. Similarly, the forces will be exerted due to the other particles, other molecules of the liquid above that surface, above this horizontal surface, also exerts on this. Here, the effect of these forces are normal forces and horizontal forces. There will be no oblique forces. Inclined forces will be exerted. Now, as the liquids or fluids is rest, that means this horizontal surface is not in motion. So the horizontal forces cancels to each other. The net horizontal force becomes zero. Only the normal forces will be exerted on it. Only the normal forces will be exerted on it due to all the particles. That means the net normal force exerted on the upper face of this horizontal surface. Similarly, the normal force exerts on the bottom surface of the horizontal surface due to the fluids particles under the horizontal surface. These two forces are equal in magnitude only if we consider only the plane surface. That's why thickness is very small. But as the horizontal surfaces, upper surface and lower surface, have large thickness, at that time both the forces are not equal in magnitude. There are difference. So in this case, both the forces are same in magnitude. Therefore, the plate is not in motion. That is not in motion when it is placed situated inside the fluids. Similarly, if we take a vertical plane inside this fluid, these are the vertical faces. These faces are vertical faces. This is also vertical face. This is also vertical face. There are four vertical faces of the cube. On this vertical force faces, vertical planes surface, in the same manner, the normal forces will be exerted. Parallel forces cannot be in existence. Parallel forces cancels to each others. Cancels to each others. Only the normal forces will be exerted on the horizontal plane surface as well as on vertical plane surfaces. If this surface, plane surface is very small thickness, at that time the forces are equal in magnitude. Equal in magnitude. Remember this thing. And to explain the hydrostatic properties of fluids at rest, for that purpose, we must use the Newton's second law for non-accelerating bodies. This equation must be. In case of hydrodynamics, if the container is in motion, if the container is in motion with acceleration, with uniform acceleration, that is accelerated motion, at that time the shape of the free surface of the liquid is like this. If the motion of the container is along the directions of the arrow, and acceleration is a, at that time the liquid moves in opposite direction of the motion of the container, since due to its inertia, due to its inertia that can be moved in opposites direction. That is, the pseudo force will be exerts on it, and due to that pseudo force the liquid molecules moves along the directions, and due to that the shape of the free surface is oblique surface. Oblique surface here. If the object is placed in this case, at that time the net force, horizontal force acting on this object is equal to the mass into acceleration. This is the Newton's second law for an accelerating bodies. Accelerating bodies. This is not given in our textbook or in our syllabus. Maharashtra State Board syllabus is not given. Only for the informations I will be given here. If the container moves with a constant velocity, that means there will be no acceleration. There will be no acceleration. At that time, the free surface of the liquid cannot be changes. The free surface remains as it is. That is rest. Hence, in that case, we also applied the equations, summation of force is equal to 0. That is rest. Fluid is rest. Now, in next articles, I can explain about the expression for the pressure. In early slides, we studied that when the surfaces are placed in the fluids, at that time only the normal forces will be exerted. Thus, the fluid pressure means the normal force exerted by the fluid at rest per unit surface area in contact is called the pressure of the fluid. Is called the pressure of the. That is, pressure is equal to the normal force per unit area. Per unit area. This is the expression for the pressure. It is a scalar quantity since it is not depends upon the direction of the force. The forces are always normal to the surfaces. Therefore, the direction of the force is not necessary to explain the pressure. So, the pressure is a scalar quantity. Its SI unit is Newton per meter square. Newton is the SI unit of force and meter square is the SI unit of area. Therefore, its SI unit is Newton per meter square. M raised to minus 2, that is per meter square, or Pascal. Pascal is the name of the scientist. That unit is given after that. Now, CGS unit is dyne per centimeter square or Barrett. It is also name of the scientist, and its dimension of the pressure can be found out by using the dimension of force, that is L raised to 1, M raised to 1, T raised to minus 2, and upon the dimension of area, that is L raised to 2. Therefore, the dimension of pressure is L raised to minus 1, M raised to 1, T raised to minus 2. Other units for the measurement of pressure are hectopascal, bar, atmospheric pressure, torr, that is in the height of in millimeter, in the height of mercury in barometer. These are the different units. The relation between them are 1 Pascal is equal to 1 Newton per meter square. 1 Pascal is equal to 10 raised to minus 2 hectopascals. 1 Pascal is equal to 10 raised to minus 5 times bar. 1 Pascal is equal to 1.0197 into 10 raised to minus 5 atmospheric pressure. 1 Pascal is equal to 7.5006 into 10 raised to minus 3 times torr or millimeter of mercury height in barometer. This is said to be 1 Pascal. 1 atmospheric pressure is equal to 1.013 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal or 1.013 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square, and it is equal to 760 millimeter of mercury height in barometer. That is said to be torr. Pressure is different when the same force exerts on different areas. Same force exerts on different areas. For example, this block has weight 100 Newton and the large surface area is 0.1 meter square and small surface area is 0.01 meter square. If this block is placed on the ground or any place, at that time it exerts a 100 Newton weight on the surface area equal to 0.1 meter square. Therefore, according to definition, P is equal to force per unit area. Force is 100 Newton and area is 0.1 and area is 0.1. Therefore, the pressure exerted on the surface area is 1000 pascals. If the same block is placed in vertical manner, at that time the area in contact is smaller area. The same weight exerts on the small area, therefore the pressure exerts is equal to 100 Newton upon 0.01 meter square, that is equal to 10,000 pascals. In this case, the force exerted on the small area has large effect will go, and the force acting on a larger surface area has a small pressure. That means pressure is different when the same force exerts on the different areas. Here also we experience the forces due to the fingers. If the finger is pressed in your arm, at that time some pressure will be exerted on your arm, but when the same force is applied by using these injections, by using this needle, at that time the needle penetrates through the skin. That means in this case the large pressure will be experienced. Here the small pressure will be experienced. That is the effect of area in contact. In this case the large area is contact, but in this case small area is in contact. If the area in contact is small, at that time the pressure is larger. Hence, to penetrate the nail on the wall, the nail has a pointed end and other end is larger area. So the force given to the larger area at one end of the nail, that exerts the large pressure at the pointed area. The effect of the pressure is large. Effect of the force is larger at the small surface. That is the pointed surface of the nail. Hence, that nail can be penetrates through the wall, pass on the wall, in the wall. Now, I can explain another concept. That concept is pressure due to liquid column. Pressure due to liquid column. To find the pressure due to liquid column, consider a homogeneous liquid of density rho be filled in a container. This is beaker or container contains a liquid of density rho. Now to find out the pressure due to liquid column, for that purpose we assume an imaginary cylindrical liquid column of cross-sectional area A. This is the imaginary cylindrical liquid column of cross-sectional area A and height h well inside the liquid, that is below the free surface. This is the free surface of the liquid, below the free surface of the liquid and above the bottom surface of the liquid. This is well inside the liquid. Now we know that molecules have mass, so the liquid molecules or fluid molecules inside this cylinder has some mass, therefore it has weight. Therefore this liquid column exerts the gravitational force or the force equal to its weight on this bottom surface, on this bottom surface, that is the weight, and that force is normal to the surface, normal to the surface, perpendicular to the surface and along the downward direction, along the downward direction. Therefore due to this weight of the liquid column, the pressure will be exerted on this bottom surface, and according to definition the pressure is equal to force per unit area, force per unit area. We consider area is A and weight, that is the force, equal to its weight, that is mg, that is mg per unit area. This is the pressure, but according to our definition of density is nothing but the mass per unit volume. Density is nothing but the mass per unit volume. Density is represented by rho and it is equal to mass upon volume. If we consider m is the mass of the liquid column and v is the volume of that liquid column, so the mass of the liquid column is equal to density into volume of that liquid column, density into volume of that liquid column, but volume is equal to area of cross sections into height. That means mass is equal to rho, that is density into area A and height of liquid column, height of liquid column, that is h, that is mass is equal to rho into A into h. Substitute this in the equations of pressure, mass as rho ah, therefore here the equation of pressure is rho a h g upon a get cancelled, therefore pressure exerted at this bottom surface, therefore pressure exerted at this bottom surface due to this liquid column, due to this liquid column is rho hg, rho hg. Now if this liquid column moves vertically upwards, if this liquid column is moves vertically upward in such a way that the upper surface or top surface of this cylinder is at the free surface of the liquid, is at the free surface of the liquid, and bottom surface is remains at the height h below this free surface, below the free surface. That's the pressure due to this liquid of density rho at rest and at depth h below the free surface is equal to H rho G. This is the expression for pressure at depth H below the free surface of the liquid. That means at every points in the plane which is at a height h from the free surface of the liquid has the pressure H rho G. H rho G. From equation, the pressure is depends upon, from this equation, the pressure depends upon the density, depends upon the density, depends upon the depth below the free surface of the liquid, that is depends upon this H, and depends upon the gravity, but not depends upon, that is independent on the surface area, since the surface area terms is not present in the expression for the pressure. Hence the pressure is independent on the surface area on which the pressure exerted. That means the pressure exerted by the fluid is independent on the shape and size of the container. Remember this. Now, another articles to be explained here. Obtain the relation between the pressure at two different points in vertical plane within the liquid, within the liquids. That means if we consider this is the vertical plane and x and y are the 2 points in these vertical planes, then obtain the relation between the pressure at the point x and pressure at the point y. Both the points are at different levels from the free surface, from the free surface. X is near to the free surface and y is at larger distance from the free surface as compared to the distance x. Here, to obtain the relation between the pressure at these 2 points, consider a homogeneous liquid of density rho be filled in a container. Let x and y be the 2 points in vertical plane, in a vertical plane, in the same plane, separated by vertical distance h, separated by vertical distance h. Let P1 and P2 be the pressures at x points and y points respectively. Let P1 and P2 be the pressure at x and y respectively. Now, to find the relation between P1 and P2, for that purpose, draw an imaginary vertical cylinder of cross-sectional area, Draw imaginary vertical cylinder of cross-sectional area A, height h, around xy, in such a way that the point x and the point y are the centers of top and bottom surface respectively. X is the at the center of top surface and y is the at the center of bottom surface respectively, as shown in figure. Now, the vertical forces acting on this cylinder are, F1. F1 be the vertically downward force acting on this top surface. This force F1 is acts on this top surface vertically downward directions due to the liquids above this surface, above the top surface. F2 is the force acting on the bottom surface, that is the to the point y, is vertically upward force due to the liquid below the free surface below the surface, not pre-surface, but below this bottom surface, below this bottom surface. And third force is the weight of the liquid column or liquid particles inside this vertical column. That weight is mg acting vertically downward direction. Vertically downward direction. As the container is in static equilibrium, that means the container is rest, fluid is also rest. That is in static equilibrium, that means in rest positions. Again, if the container is in uniform motion, but the liquid surfaces, but the liquid is also in rest positions, as the velocity is same, there will be no accelerated motions. So there will be no accelerations. Hence, in that case, we applied for static equilibrium, we applied the Newton's second law for non-accelerated objects, that is the net force is equal to 0. We already studied in these early slides. Summation of force is equal to 0. Now here there are three forces. F1 mg acting vertically downwards while F2 is acting vertically upwards. Vertically upward force considered positive and vertically downward force are considered negative. Therefore, F2 minus F1 minus mg is equal to 0. That is due to this equation. Therefore, from these equations, F2 minus F1 is equal to mg. But we already studied that the mass of water in the cylinder is equal to rho into AH. Therefore, instead of m, we substitute this value rho AH here, rho AHG. This is the equation first. Now, this equation first becomes, if A is transferred towards left hand side, at that time F2 minus F1 upon A, F2 minus F1 upon A is equal to rho Hg. Therefore, F2 upon A minus F1 upon A is equal to rho Hg, rho Hg. But according to the definition, force per unit area, force per unit area, F2 upon A, that is the pressure at the Y point, at the Y point, that is said to be P2. At the Y point, pressure is said to be P2. Therefore, instead of F2 upon A, we write P2 and minus F1 upon A, that is force acting per unit area at the top surface. So, that is at the point X, that is considered P1. Therefore, instead of F1 upon A, we write P1. That is P2 minus P1 is equal to rho Hg. This is the relation between the pressure at two different points in the vertical planes. From this equation, it is clear that the pressure between the 2 points in the vertical planes are different. P2 minus P1 is equal to rho Hg, and that difference is always equal to rho Hg. This is the relation between the pressure at 2 points in vertical planes, or the relation between the pressure at 2 points in two different horizontal planes. These horizontal planes are different. This is the relation. Now, what is meant by atmospheric pressure? What is meant by gauge pressure and adiabatic pressure? To explain this, we must know about the atmosphere. Atmosphere means the mixture of gas surround the earth or any other planet or star, etc., called as atmosphere of the earth or atmosphere of the planet or atmosphere of the star. The earth's atmosphere is composed of nitrogen about 78%, oxygen about 21%, argon gas about 0.9%, carbon dioxide about 0.04%, and remaining other gases. Atmospheric pressure means the force exerted on the earth or on the substance per unit area by the weight of air column above that surface is called the atmospheric pressure. I can explain it from this. If this is the earth and around it there is mixture of gases up to this level, this is the atmosphere. This is the atmosphere. If we consider this is the small area or unit area, and this is the air column from Earth's surface to the last of the Earth's atmosphere point. Due to this, air particles inside this column has some weights. That weight exerts on this surface, and due to that weight on this surface, force is exerted. If this area is equal to unit area, if A is equal to 1, then the force exerted by this air column on this area, that is called the atmospheric pressure. That is called the atmospheric pressure. That atmospheric pressure at the sea level, the atmospheric pressure at sea level is called the normal atmospheric pressure. It's called the normal atmospheric pressure. Its average value is 1.013 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square. That is called the 1 atmosphere. 1 atmosphere is equal to 1.013 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square. We know that as we go vertically upwards, the density of the air decreases. Density of the air decreases. So the pressure also decreases. So the pressure also decreases. As the reason where the gas pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure, less than the atmospheric pressure, less than the normal atmospheric pressure, that is called the vacuum. That is called vacuum. Absolute vacuum is the reason where no matter present, that is atoms or molecules are not present in the regions, that is called the absolute vacuum. That is called absolute vacuum. Another concept is gauge pressure. Another concept is gauge pressure. The gauge pressure means the excess pressure above the atmospheric pressure is called the gauge pressure of that substance. We already find out the relation between the pressure between the two different points in the vertical planes, or difference between the pressure difference between the 2 points in the two horizontal levels, that is P2 minus P1 is equal to H rho G. These equations can be obtained by using these diagrams. We already see this. P2 minus P1 is equal to H rho g. Now, if this imaginary cylinder moves vertically up in such a way that its upper surface is becomes at the free surface of the liquid inside the container, at that time the difference between this pressure between the layers of free surface and the layer which is at the depth h below the free surface, the difference in pressure or the relation between the pressure at the depth h below the free surface and the pressure at the free surface, that relation can be obtained by using this equation P2 minus P1 is equal to H rho g. This can be if the cylinder is moves vertically upwards in such a way that the upper surface or top surface of the cylinder is at the free surface, at that time the pressure above this surface is equal to the pressure of the atmosphere. The pressure, atmospheric pressure is considered as P0. Atmospheric pressure is considered as P0. Now, instead of P1, P1 is the pressure at the top surface. Pressure at the top surface. That is at the point X. That top surface now here at the free surface of the liquid. So pressure is atmospheric pressure. Hence, substitute P1 as P0. P1 as P0. And the pressure at the point at depth h below this free surface is considered as P. It's considered as a P. Therefore, substitute P2 as P. The height remains same. Therefore, the equation P2 minus P1 is equal to H rho g becomes P minus P0 H rho g. This is the gauge pressure. That is, this is the excess pressure over the atmospheric pressure. This is the actual pressure at the point P. But this is the difference between the actual pressure and atmospheric pressure. That is the excess pressure over the above the atmospheric pressure. That is called the gauge pressure. That pressure is due to only the liquid above that surface. Liquids due to the only fluids. This is the pressure due to the fluids. Hence, this pressure is also called the fluid pressures. Fluid pressures. H rho g. P minus P0 is the fluid pressure. This is the gauge pressure at depth h below the surface of liquid. Now, absolute pressure. Absolute pressure means the total pressure exerted by atmosphere as well as by the fluid is called the absolute pressure. From these equations, P minus P0 is equal to H rho g. P is equal to P0 plus H rho g, where P0 is the pressure due to the atmosphere and H rho g is the pressure due to the fluids. That total pressure is called the absolute pressure. This is the total pressure, and this total pressure is called the absolute pressure at depth h below the surface of liquid. Now, the pressure due to the layer of different substances. If the container has different substances. For example, here we take the water. This is water. And above the water, there will be oil. Both have different density. Oil has small density as compared to water. Therefore, oil floats over the water. Now, to find the absolute pressure at the point, which is at a distance h1 from the bottom layer of the oil, and the oil height of oil layer is considered h2. Density of oil is rho 2. Density of water is rho 1. So, the absolute pressure at this point A, if we consider this point is A, is pressure at point A is equal to atmospheric pressure, that is P0, which is above the oil, plus pressure due to the oil column, that is equal to H2 rho 2g, and pressure due to the water column above that point, that is H1 rho 1g. In this way, we can find out the absolute pressure. Now the gauge pressure is equal to, gauge pressure is H2 rho 2g plus H1 rho 1g. This is the gauge pressure. Due to both the liquids. Addition of P0, that is the total pressure, that is absolute pressure at the point A. Remember these things. Now, pressure due to fluid container is in vertical upward motions as the container is in vertically upward motions. At that time, the pressure at the two different points in vertical planes, if the container moves vertically upwards with acceleration A, at that time fluids have the accelerations vertically downward directions. So in this case, the net force is equal to mass into acceleration. Here F2 is vertically upward force, F1 is vertically downward force, A is vertically downward force, and the force on the fluid is also downward direction due to the vertically upward motion of the container. This is downwards. Therefore, here instead of here ma, we write here minus ma, f2 minus f1 minus mg minus ma is equal to 0, or by using these relations, f2 minus f1 minus mg is equal to ma. Therefore, f2 minus f1 is equal to mg plus ma. Therefore, that is equal to m into bracket g plus a. This is equation first. Now, the mass of the cylinder is rho ah. Substitute that in that equations, we get f2 minus f1. We get f2 minus f1. We get f2 minus f1. Here there will be printing mistakes. The mass of the water in cylinder is rho ah only. Rho ah. G is not here. G is not here. Substitute the value of mass as rho ah here. We get the equations f2 minus f1 is equal to rho ah into bracket g plus a. Therefore, f2 minus f1 upon a is equal to rho h into bracket g plus a. Therefore, f2 upon a is equal to f1 upon a, that is equal to rho h into g plus a. Therefore, the pressure P2 minus P1 is equal to rho h into bracket g plus a. This is the difference between the pressure at two different levels. At two different levels, due to the motion of the container vertically upward direction. As the container moves vertically downwards with the accelerations a, at that time the sign of acceleration a is negative. Therefore, the P2 minus P1 is equal to rho h g minus a. This is the expressions when the liquid is moves vertically downward direction. Vertically downward direction. This is due to the motion. These articles is not in your syllabus. Only I can explain it for the NEET and JEE examinations. Another articles is relation between the pressure at two different points in horizontal plane within the liquid. If the 2 points at the same level, at that time the pressure at the 2 points are same according to the expression for P is equal to H rho G. Both the height are same, so the pressure will be same. But by using the Newton's second law, the forces, the net force acting on this cylinder is equal to 0. The two forces will be act F1 force and F2 force. Both the points are at the same level. Therefore, the forces exerted are same. Force area of cross sections is also same. Therefore, F2 minus F1 is equal to 0. Therefore, F2 is equal to minus F1 divided by the area of cross section. Therefore, the force per unit area at one surface is equal to the force per unit area of the second surface. Here F2 upon A, here F1 upon A. Therefore, the pressure at the 2 points are same. There is also printing mistakes here. Instead of F1, we write F2. Pressure at the 2 points in the same level are same. If the container moves horizontally with uniform acceleration A, horizontally with uniform acceleration A, at that time the liquid levels, free surface liquid level is like this. In this case, the forces are different since there will be motions. Now, according to Newton's second law, applied the Newton's second law, that is summation net force is equal to mass into acceleration. Here F2 is toward the directions, F1 is toward these directions. This is toward the right side, hence that is considered as positive. F1 is toward the left side, hence that is considered negative. Therefore, F2 minus F1 is equal to mass into acceleration. Mass into acceleration. But mass is equal to the mass of liquid inside this column. If this column has the length L, if this column or is this cylinder has the length L, area of cross section is A, therefore its volume is A into L. Its volume is A into L. Density of the liquid is rho, therefore mass inside this liquid, inside this cylinder, mass of the liquid inside this cylinder is rho into A into L, rho into A into L. Therefore, the F2 minus F1 upon A is equal to rho into L into A. Therefore, F2 upon A minus F1 upon A, that is equal to rho into LA. Therefore, the pressure at this point is greater than the pressure at this point. We see that due to level, here the level is smaller as compared to the levels here. Therefore, pressure at this second point is greater than the first point. Therefore, P2 minus P1 is equal to rho into LA when the container moves horizontally along the directions with uniform acceleration A. This is the difference between the pressure at the same level when the container is in motion. At that time, pressure are not remain same. Remember this thing. This is not in our syllabus. Only for JEE exams and NEET examinations, I will be given here. P2 minus P1 is equal to rho into LA. This is the relation between the pressure at two different points in horizontal plane when the container is in motion. Container is in motion with uniform acceleration A. With uniform acceleration A. The angle made by the free surface of the liquid with the horizontal is this horizontal surface. This free surface makes an angle with the horizontal, makes an angle theta with the horizontal, and that angle is equal to tan inverse of A upon G. That can be explained by using these diagrams. This is the liquid level. This is the horizontal level. This horizontal level make an angle theta. As the container moves along the direction with acceleration A, at that time the liquid there will be pseudo force, that is pseudo acceleration. That acceleration is along this direction. On the fluid, the acceleration is along this direction, that is pseudo acceleration, and acceleration due to gravity is along this direction. Now, this is acceleration due to gravity. The effective acceleration due to both the accelerations, that is horizontal acceleration and vertical gravitational accelerations, if we complete the parallelograms, if we complete the paragraphs, the resultant force or resultant accelerations is along these directions, and that resultant acceleration is always perpendicular, always perpendicular to the surface. This is always perpendicular to the free surface of the liquid. Remember this. This is always perpendicular to the free surface of the liquid. Now, if this angle is theta, this angle is also theta. This angle is also theta. This angle is 90 minus theta. This angle is 90 minus theta, and this angle is also theta. By the geometry of the figure, this angle is also theta. Now, from this right angle triangle, the tan theta is equal to horizontal acceleration. This is an acceleration having the magnitude equal to acceleration, and this is the magnitude equal to gravitational acceleration. Therefore, from this diagrams, tan theta is equal to A upon G. Tan theta is equal to A upon G, and therefore theta is equal to tan inverse of A upon G. This is given in this equation. Theta is equal to tan inverse of A upon G. This is the relations. This is not in our syllabus, only for JEE examinations and NEET examinations I can explain here. Thank you for watching this video. If we like this video, subscribe to my channel Physics Guru RDP, and give the comments in comment box. Also give the response on my WhatsApp number. My WhatsApp number is 9422218134. This is my WhatsApp number. Give the reply on this number. Thank you for watching. Again, thanks.